Champy, you ready to sing? I'm just tuning, dude. He doesn't know the difference between tuning and playing. You ready, Champy? Every time I see you now, get that look in my eye. Every time I see your mouth, I hear that smile. In the early misty morning, thought I heard the engine turning in the old Ford outside. Me again today. You're leaving this hot town, looking for someone else's golden ring. All right, something's glitching. Down, 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 down. Champy's tuning up. Champy is tuning up. Champy's a mess tonight. What do you think, Champy? Came my way that night, just like a jet plane, in and out of sight. I was hauling ass at 1,000,000 miles an hour, wondering how hard I'd hit. When they came into the station, they said I was bad, beyond repairs, but I got no qualms with my situation. Say here I am, say Cherie, 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 won't you dare to? Say Cherie, 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 won't you dare to? Say Cherie, Cherie, Cherie. Yeah. Leave a message and your number, please. Take the time to want to satisfy me. Take all these old fantasies and set them care of me. Good evening, good people. It's Monday. Do we get Philosophical Kyle tonight? I do not know. I don't plan these things. It just tends to be that on Monday nights, maybe it's because I haven't been paying attention to all the news. I'm not all full of news, and I'm just full of hot wind. Oh, yeah. Good evening, good people. We get Monday, Kyle. I have freshly glued my hair, so we should be okay on the hair tonight. I know that's always a big concern. A lot of people come here, they're like, I come for the hair, I stay for the madness. Some people, quite the opposite. I come for the madness, and the hair I just tolerate. It looks like image-generated hair, AI-generated hair. This is a masterful collaboration of 4 different toupees cleverly stitched together to seem like natural hair with an extremely large forehead. It's taken me decades to get it like this. The amount of tape and bobby pins. It's like a Hollywood special effects crew in here getting this hair to look like this. Really something. Really, really impressive. Jenny's a part of that. And Bucky, Jenny and Bucky are my two primary hair people. They're amazing. Occasionally Sarah will jump in. Fantastic. We've got a pool going on the hair. Nice. So if you're new here, my name's Kyle Shannon. This is the Ai Learning Lab. All of a sudden that sounded like an NPR kind of like, hey, it's Kyle Shannon. Little background guitar. Like an off-Broadway show. I moved to New York City in 1987. My first job was at FAO Schwarz, selling yo-yos at the top of the escalator. One of my favorite memories of that job was Walter Cronkite coming up that escalator with his grandson, and I was doing some yo-yo tricks, and Walter Cronkite looked at his grandson and said, "Whoop, walking the dog." That's a true story, actually. Mr. IT, Kyle, we missed you guys. Thank you so much. I think 2 days is too much. Did that job take you around the world? Oh, Joker coming in heavy with the dad jokes tonight. You had to be careful with that because the yo-yos that I was selling were these wooden yo-yos, which are fine. They were fine. They weren't like Tom Kuhn, highly balanced machined aircraft aluminum yo-yos. And so I would often like zing the yo-yo out like right to someone's face and then stop it right before it got there. There were a couple of times where the spindle in the middle had worn down and it split the yo-yo in half. So that was they had a bigger liability with me selling yo-yos than I think they realized. I met Keith Richards doing that. That's pretty good. Yeah, those were interesting jobs, the FAO Schwarz jobs. Because they mostly hired, like Broadway actors who were not working. Anima, like and share and follow the host. Thank you so much. I agree. Like, share, follow the channel, share this thing. Here's who you should share this channel with. Anyone who you think will be pissed off if you share a channel about AI. Speaking of liability, let's fuck with your friendships. Jenny, listen. Look, I really appreciate you sharing that live. The guy was interesting. I mean, his toupee was fantastic. But all he talked about was artificial intelligence. And, I am personally affronted by artificial intelligence. So I would appreciate it if you do not ever share that person ever again. So, How long did I watch it? Well, I watched all 2.5 hours of it. It was fascinating. Yeah, I like ChatGPT now, but I'm personally offended by artificial intelligence, but I do like it a lot now. It's pretty good, isn't it? You know, I can no longer tell if this is a real story or not. No, the FAO Schwarz stuff, that was all real. Yeah, you know, I was working at FAO Schwarz, trying to get an agent, trying to get jobs. I auditioned for this thing called the Drama Project. I had to audition to get in. I did this monologue from Golden Boy, boxing film, or boxing play. I had to audition to get in, and so I decided to pick the prettiest girl in the room, and I did the monologue straight to her. It was about a girl. Turns out, that pretty lady's now my wife. Turns out, when I did that monologue to her, she turned to the girl next to her and she said, "Uh-oh, this looks like trouble." Wow, so sweet, fantastic love story. Also true. Did I miss a story about Mrs. Shannon? Yes, you did. Then a group of us broke off from that group, started a theater company, and we only did original plays, which is stupid because no one's ever heard of them, and nobody really wants another play in the world. But we'd workshop them in Vermont, in a barn. I got a barn. Let's put on a show in Warren, Vermont. And then in the winter, we'd take the plays that didn't suck and we'd perform them on 42nd Street. A never before seen picture of Kyle getting his hair done in Irregulars. Let's go see this. I like the idea. People. There's Irregulars, new activity. See? This is a little behind the scenes. I don't know how they got the camera feed from getting ready for the evening, but yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Living in New York City is pretty amazing. If you've never done it, it is remarkable. It is weirdly the biggest city you've ever experienced and the most intense you've ever experienced, and it's a weirdly small town. I remember the first day I was living in New York City. I'd been in a play the summer before at the Mount Gretna Playhouse. We did Three Penny Opera. And it was directed by Paul Giovanni, who was a Broadway director. And then I did good enough there that he offered me an equity job in Washington, D.C. at the end of the summer. But the problem was I had a full ride, a full scholarship to the Alabama Shakespeare Festival. So 2 weeks before I was supposed to go to the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, I was like, fuck it. It's an equity house. I got my first paid job. I'll get my equity card. So I'll do this show and I'll move to New York City. And so it was the Crucifer of Blood, a Sherlock Holmes murder mystery. And I played a young lap boy and a Pakistani conspirator. I learned my Pakistani accent. I learned how to be a serving boy for a rich old man. And then I moved to New York City. And my first day living in New York City, so I moved into an apartment in East Harlem on 114th and 1st Avenue with some actors that I had worked with the summer before. And I decided to take the subway to Times Square. And so I'm walking around Times Square in the middle of rush hour. I mean, it's fucking just chaos, right? And I hear, "Hey, Kyle." It's like, huh, that's weird. It sounded like someone had said, "Hey, Kyle." And I heard, "Hey, Kyle." And it was John Peelmeyer, who's a playwright. He wrote Agnes of God. And he was in the Three Penny Opera at the Mount Gretna show over the summer. And so, you know, I saw him and we ran together and hugged, and like in the middle of Times Square with like thousands of people. My first day in New York City, I ran into someone I had a deep relationship with. That was really cool. And New York's full of shit like that. So yes, you're going to get a philosophical Kyle tonight. All right. What do we want to talk about, people? We can talk about pickling cucumbers. Was in a live this afternoon. Two young women had a question dilemma. They said, "Let's use ChatGPT. There's hope." Oh, there you go. I'll tell you what. If you haven't sort of crossed the Rubicon, if you haven't crossed the threshold with ChatGPT, where whenever you think, "Oh, I should use my brain and come up with something," if you haven't crossed the threshold where you then correct that and go, "Oh no, fuck that. Let me just try ChatGPT first." That's a really fun threshold to cross, because you still get to use your brain to come up with the ideas and curate the ideas and refine the ideas. But you can just live at the sort of ideation level, that much higher kind of, for me, higher fulfillment, rather than sort of running down all the tactical detail rabbit holes. That's a fun threshold to cross. Would you be on my podcast, Tell Me Three Things? Absolutely, Tim Lord. Just DM me. Happy to. Do I have to come up with three? Can I use ChatGPT? Thing one. Never go on a podcast called Three Things. Thing two. ChatGPT told me to delve deeper into the tapestry of the unfolding paradigm of podcast speaking. Thing three. Yeah, happy to. As you can tell, I'm a scintillating guest. I quit using Google and my brain, and my brain thanks to ChatGPT. Exactly. Exactly. I gotta tell you, if you haven't, if you're still using Google and you still are under the delusion that it works, start using ChatGPT. Google gets long in the tooth really fucking fast. Like I sincerely cannot believe how bad Google search is these days. It's just not usable. Not usable. By the way, a little coffee with milk, in case you're wondering. It's not Denver tap water. All right. I find myself telling people that it was ChatGPT, but I had to rewrite it 5 times. Yeah, I got a note from Alan today, asking about, he had heard that I wrote a book using Claude on the channel here, and he goes, I heard you put in like a 2-hour video and it wrote a book. And I was like, no. I put in a list of quotes, and then I took 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and about 400 prompts to get it to write a book. So, we're not quite at the push a button, get a book yet. New images in Irregulars, it seems. New activity. Will act for... I had a little lighter hair back then. I was more blondish than brownish. And it was a wooden yo-yo. Like a blonde... But that's what it looked like. You went up the escalators, and I stood right at the top of the escalator. Right up here. Twirling my will act for food. That's pretty much it. And this is the glamorous life I lead today. This is where it started, where it is today. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, people. That's comedy right there. I'm finding the combo of ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude are great for e-commerce. Yeah, so I'm experiencing the same thing where... Although I haven't been playing as much with Gemini, their latest release got me really confused, and I don't know. I just stopped. It pissed me off because they're kind of all over the place. So I haven't been using that. But Claude is really, really good. ChatGPT is really, really good, but they do different things better. So bouncing back and forth between them, I think, is a really good strategy right now. There's also Silver Fox. Lori asked me a question for my AI walk-in talks, which I haven't gotten to yet, but it was basically about if you want to do something with a particular category of tools, should you learn lots of tools thinly, or should you pick one and go really deep? It's a really good question. I think it depends what mode you're in. So I see AI literacy being a journey of kind of 3 different modes. We talk about this on the AI Salon a lot, which if you haven't checked out the AI Salon, there's the address. Go there and check that out. Click on the top link there. It's the community. And the 3 modes are play first, mindfully create, and generously lead. And how I like to think about the learning journey is play first is when you're in sponge mode. You're just trying to learn. So if you're like, oh, I want to get into image generation, don't just pick a tool and go deep on it. Play with as many as you can, or if you're doing the same with video or song generation or even large language models, play with as many as you can. And, some of them are going to have free modes, some of them won't. You don't want to do all sorts of subscriptions. You just want to play. You just want to get a taste for as many as you can. And you'll see that, oh, this one's kind of good at this kind of thing, and that one's good at that kind of thing. And you'll start to figure out, it's not like any tool is better than another. It's that any tool for a given use case and your personality are going to suit you better than others. And the only way to kind of learn that is to try them on. It's kind of like picking schools for your children, if you've ever had to do that, where if you listen to other parents, which I made the mistake of doing a couple of times. I was like, oh, Bob thought this was fantastic? This has got to be a fantastic school. Let's put our kids here and see if it fucks up their life. And it did. You really have to try this shit on for size yourself, right? You can't just say, oh, someone else loved this, it must be great. No, sometimes you'll try a thing someone else said was great, you'll hate it. And then you'll try something else that they hated, and you'll love it. So in that play first mode, cast as wide a net as possible. And then once you've got your head around, okay, I kind of like this tool, or you know, like there's subtleties, like for art, Mid-Journey, if you want high quality images, there's nothing like it. Unless you want to produce text, and then you need to use DALL-E 3 within Chat GPT, or Ideogram. Those do text really well. So you kind of learn subtleties, right? Then once you decide on your project, then you narrow it down. So you start really wide up here, trying everything, figure out the one or two tools that you really like, narrow down, and then when you do your project, run deep for that project. And the generously lead part is share what you've learned. So in this process of sort of learning wide and narrowing down and building something, share what you're learning, and share, you know, what you learned in the play first mode, share what you learned as you're building, and you will gain trust and a following and a reputation for somebody who is thoughtfully building things with AI and a leader. Saw an article today that we're our most creative, don't care what others think at age 4 rather than 7. Oh, interesting. As we talked about before. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's generally around age 5 where something happens where you realize the world is dangerous. And that's when you start to shut your creative brain down. Yep. And what Serena is talking about, what Emilio's wife is talking about there, is what people here have consistently experienced is once you sort of break through the, what's this AI stuff all about? I don't get it. It's like a Google. Oh, Champ. Champy. Champ. Champy, come sing. Come on, you want to come sing? Yeah. Were you protecting us from the evil people? Yeah, it's a good dog. Oh, it is a good dog. Oh, good dog. What was I talking about? Aged 5, we go to school. Yeah, it could be school. I wrote a scene in a one-man show about the thing that happened to me when I was 5. And I compared it to the thing that happened to my dad when he was 5. And how we reacted to the same situation. And that gave me insight as to why I became an actor and he became a pilot. Life's weird. Alright, constantly being taught to color inside the lines. Yep. Alright, what do you want to talk about, people, here? What do you want to dig into? You want to dig into anything? You want me to just keep rambling? I can keep rambling. A pilot, wow. Emilio has always wanted to be a pilot. Yeah, my dad was a pilot in the Air Force. He flew Huey helicopters in Vietnam. He flew, he was co-pilots on C-130s, the big cargo planes. He trained on T-38 training jets. I think he might have flown C-141s? C-141s, yeah, I think 141s. The big jet cargo planes. Yep. I thought about being a pilot, but with my ADD brain, well, I'd have probably been okay being a pilot because it's a hyper-focus thing. But the boring shit in between and the checklists at the beginning, ugh. I mean, I know you want the airplane to stay in the air and you should check all that shit, but ugh. I just want to go fly. I would not have been a good commercial pilot. I think I'd have been a good fighter pilot. You were an actor. I was. I have a fine arts degree from Penn State University in performance, they called it. I don't know why they called it performance. It's acting. Then I moved to New York City out of school. Started and ran a theater company. Got tired of doing free theater. Then I wrote 7 screenplays in 2 years. Started a fake management company because we didn't have agents. We got good enough at being fake agents that we got real clients. And then in the mid-90s, when the web came along, I started one of the first online magazines and one of the first digital web agencies, and then ended up building that company from like 2 people to 2,200 people in 5 years. So it was pretty fucking surreal to go from being an out-of-work actor to being a chief creative officer of a 2,000-person agency, building websites for the biggest brands in the world. We are Penn State. Exactly. Worker bee knows. We are Penn State. Actually, that was my first night at Penn State. My first night at Penn State, we went out drinking, of course. Or we might have gone out, I think we went out and got beer, and we drank all night. We stayed up all night, and then we were like, hey, let's go break into Beaver Stadium. And so we went and we broke into Beaver Stadium, and then we went out and hung out at the 50-yard line in the middle of Beaver Stadium and watched the sunrise. That was pretty cool. I've had a couple of really good first day experiences at places. New York City, Penn State. My daughter's an actress. She's in Paris, does combat, video editing, dance, singing. Lexi Baker. Nice. That's awesome, Joseph. You know, it's funny. I think that the acting, the creative arts are about to get decimated. And then I think they emerge a couple of years from now in a really powerful state, but it's going to be completely different. I think what gets decimated is the current business model. I think voiceover actors are that industry is just going to be obliterated. But I think special effects, like just a lot of the jobs are going to be different. But I think if we go more like a 5-year time horizon, here's how I think about it. The AI stuff is going to automate a lot of the tactical execution, including in the creative arts. And so just all the shit that used to be done by people is now going to be done by these machines, and it's just going to be a handful of like creative director types that are conducting all these tools, and they'll do all that shit. And I think that there's going to be a real, like a dramatic shift toward authentic experiences. So theater, live music, escape rooms, just in-person physical events that a lot of this online stuff is going to get so saturated with content that people are going to have a hunger for connection and entertainment. And so I think there'll be a rebirth of a lot of need for talented people to do interesting shit. But I think it's going to be an ugly 5 years. And to be quite honest, it's funny, everyone's talking about, the creative arts are all fucked. Creative arts have always been fucked. I'm a member of Actors Equity, the union, or I was, the union for stage acting in New York, or all over the country, but you get a Broadway contract there. They have like a 95% unemployment rate. Like this is back in the 80s. Nobody needs another actor. If I'm like, well, I don't want to do that role, you're not paying me enough, they'll be like, all right, there's literally 10,000 people behind you that would take you out for a walk-on role in this play that you're turning down. Like, it's a brutal industry. Anywhere where you've got an inequality of amount of jobs for people who want those jobs, it's going to be fucked up. And the arts is that. Everybody wants a gallery show. Everybody wants a hit song. Everybody wants a stadium tour. Everybody wants to be on Broadway. How many people get to do that? 6! Relatively. 3 million people a year move to New York to become an actor. 22 make it. And most of those 22 have been pounding the boards for 20 years. I'll tell you what, though. You want someone who works their fucking ass off? Hire someone who's been in the theater. If you hire an actor, they can talk, for one thing. But they also work their ass off. You can't be an artist and not be an entrepreneur. So theatricals, as crazy, batshit crazy as they are, they'll work their ass off. They tend to be smart. They tend to be critical thinkers. They tend to be talented. Read an article on AI chatbots in Interpretation of Pathology reports brought to mind Storyvine. Oh, interesting. Interpretation of pathology reports. Interesting. Yeah, the whole idea behind Storyvine. So Storyvine, I'm the CEO of this company, Storyvine, that's an automated video storytelling platform that most people assume is AI. They have for 12 years. It's not. It's more Aristotle than AI. So the idea is that we figure out what's the story structure, and then we prompt someone with a series of questions that creates that narrative arc. And then those clips go up to the cloud. 5 minutes later, you got a fully edited video. So for doing things like explaining things like that, it was a JAMA network article. Very cool, Firefly. Thank you. I'll check it out. There should be a want to be a professional sports player union. Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Sports is another arena where, you can be fucking massively talented. I played, 1 year I worked with this guy that owned a jewelry store. and he was at some point in his life was a semi-professional tennis player. And he was like just below the top 1,000. And I played him all summer, and he just destroyed me every fucking game except at the very end of the summer. I won one set from him, and it was like I had fucking won Wimbledon because he was so good and I was so bad. But I got really good. But he was saying in sports, the difference between being out of the top 1,000 and in the top 1,000 has nothing to do with skill. He said, once you get to a certain level in tennis, and frankly, this is any sport, once you get to a certain level, but tennis is particularly acute, it's no longer about the skill. It's all about the head game. It's all about the head game. He's like, why do the same players end up in the finals year after year after year after year? Part of it's talent. But I don't know if you've been watching Wimbledon. Like, the level of play is just fucking insane. And why is it that the top-ranked players somehow find a way to win that point? Or stave off, a match point 3 or 4 times before winning it in 5 sets. It's all head. The arts is the same way, quite frankly. Because the arts isn't about talent. Like, you assume at some point, at some level, everyone's got talent. Who works? The people that go to the parties, the people that work the room, the people that are always in the conversation. How do you stay in the conversation? That's what being an actor is all about. And they don't teach that in acting school. I studied with Bill Esper in New York City, William Esper, and it was a 2-year program, and there were some fucking talented people in my class, like fucking crazy. You had to audition to get into this class. It's like a master, postgraduate master New York City acting class. 2-year program, and we had some fucking just crazy talented actors, and they weren't the ones that worked. It was the actors that were good, but knew how to work the room, knew how to be in the conversation, knew how to smoosh an agent, knew who the producers were at any party that they were at. We're always in those conversations. Those were the ones that worked. No one ever taught that, at least not anywhere I studied. And I think a lot of actors get really bitter because of that, because they're like, I'm more talented than them. And you might be. It's funny. This is where, okay, let's get back to AI for a second. The reason I am so passionate about the salon, the AI salon, and the reason that I think this is the future of work, this is the future of how we're all going to work. It doesn't have to be the AI salon, but something like it. If you assume that AI tools are going to get so good that everyone can do every skill, maybe they're not going to be that good. Okay, let's say everyone can do every skill at 80% of a current expert, right? So, okay, maybe they can't do it at 100%, but if I could be like 80% as good as a Harvard MBA at business consulting, I might not need to hire that Harvard MBA who's a dickhead. I might hire someone else who I know from a group like this, where I've got a trusted relationship with them. So I think that skill that actors have to have is going to be a skill that we all have to have over the next 3 to 5 years. And so getting your ass into a community where you're actively learning and exploring and asking questions and teaching other people and building shit and throwing pasta at the wall and just all of it. It's not about the work that you're doing in there. It's about the relationships that you're building in there. Because at some point, one of those people is going to be in a position where they have to hire someone. And they're going to go, well, everyone can do this work. Who do I want to work with? Which is different than how we hire today. How we hire today is who's got the skills to do the work. What if everyone had the skills? That's the world we're moving into. Then you hire someone for a different reason. You hire them because you trust them. You hire them because they're not an asshole. You hire them because you know they do good work. You hire them because they make you laugh. You know that old adage, don't be a dick? You don't have to be an asshole in this world.
You can make money with ChatGPT!
And I think that actually gets really, really important in the coming years. So, all right. What are we doing? You ready to start? We're 50 minutes in. I just put the guitar down. Champ's looking at me like, what's going on? What's going on, Dad? What are we doing here? Networking is always important. Yep. It really is. Which is, I think one of the reasons that LinkedIn is feeling so antiquated and weird lately is that everyone's taken the course on how to write the cold outreach, thing. And now that everyone's using ChatGPT, so, 6 times a day, it's like, hey, Kyle, really love what you're doing with Storyvine there. Think it'd be great if we got together and expanded our networks for mutual benefit. No. How about no? What's the mutual? How about this? How about you give me some benefit over a sustained period of time, like 3 or 4 or 5 months or a year or 2 or 10. And then when I need whatever the fuck it is you're hawking, I'll reach out to you. Hey, Kyle, just wondering if you were looking for any new clients. Oh, no, I've got all that I need. Sorry, full up on needing new clients. Of course I need new fucking clients. You think I'm going to reach out to you, you pinhead? We specialize in helping companies like yours get new leads, new hot leads. He seems a little bitter. He was a little aggressive on LinkedIn there, didn't you think? It was. I like LinkedIn. I think it's a professional networking site. I mean, I don't know. I mean, sure, I use ChatGPT when I reach out to people. Hey, Bob. I noticed you went to Penn State, too. Wink, wink. Trust, relationships, providing value, not being a douche. Get in communities where you're actively interacting. Don't just come in here to like, who's going to hire me? No one. I guarantee you when Kelly Camp gets a big job for her AI agency and she needs 5 or 7 people because it's a big job, there's a lot of moving parts to it, she won't be going to LinkedIn. She'll be like, all right, who have I worked with in the past year and a half that I've been on my AI journey that have added value to my life? That's who she'll hire. Okay, I know that one can do this. I know that one can do that. I need someone who knows something about politics. Oh, Daisy Thomas, really good for that. Right? That's how that's going to happen. This woman works. Thank you so much for making my night better. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sometimes... sometimes just fucking ramble. So I rarely am all that conscious about what I'm saying. I'm often barely conscious, period. So if this is resonating and making a difference, thank you for saying that, because I don't always know. Yes, I will be calling my peeps here, says Kelly Camp. Exactly. Why does Kelly Camp come here every night? Oh, sure, for the hair. Yeah. Comes for the hair, stays for the engagement. Because as I'm rambling, I don't know if you noticed this, there's a whole world of activity going on in the comments here. And it also extends over to the AI Salon, where this group, the AI Learning Lab, we have our own club over here called the AI Learning Lab Irregulars. And so as I'm saying stupid shit and talking about my hair people and my makeup people, and people want to make a funny image of that, they can share it. And so what's happening there is people are learning, people are self-expressing, people are leading, people are showing other people, oh, you can respond to things in real time. And they're building relationships. That's what this channel's about. The fact that I talk incessantly with no real destination in mind, I've come to learn, actually doesn't matter. Like sometimes it's brilliant and awesome, sometimes it's a complete waste of time, but it's not. It might be a waste of time if what you came here for was, Kyle's going to teach me about artificial intelligence. Then it might have been a waste of your time. But if you're here, and while I'm rambling, you kind of lose your train of thought and you connect with someone else in the chat here, or you just go off and start playing with the tool, but you're in the conversation, this is valuable. You're building relationships, you're building skills, you're building ways of thinking. You may occasionally be entertained.
You can make money with ChatGPT.
Very small rocks. Rarely, occasionally entertained. So just be. Just be a human. Be connected. Be empathetic. Be generous. Be curious. Be brave. Do you know how many people in here over the past year and a half have come in here and been like, I don't know anything about AI, Kyle, what do I do? And what's cool now is that there's enough people here that when someone comes in and says that, they kind of take them under their wing. They're like, go over to the AI Salon, do this, do that. Kyle will eventually answer your question. Or not, just keep coming back. And how many of those people have kept coming back to this thing, and 3 or 6 months later, having started from, I don't know what to do, I'm clueless, are now like, I just got asked by like the VP of my company to give like a talk on AI, and I don't really know anything, but should I do it? Fuck yes! You know how many people have gone from like the annoying person in the lunchroom talking about AI that nobody wants to hear about to all of a sudden running seminars or running like an AI working group in their company? A lot. That's what this channel's all about. I mean, not necessarily getting promoted, but just like being in the world, learning this shit. It will pay dividends. However behind you think you are, you're way ahead. If you're willing to sit here and listen to me just fucking babble nonsense, you're like, I think somewhere in here there's something I could glean. If you're in this conversation at all, and you're like just curious, like, well, what is this Chat GPT thing? Let me go try it out. You're way ahead of where most people are. 47% of people in America have not even heard of Chat GPT. Haven't even heard of it. If you do the math of the report, this is from a report that Ethan Mollick shared like a month ago. If you follow the math of the report, we're in single digits of anyone who's actually using ChatGPT with any regularity. And then probably like a third of those people actually use it enough and are adventurous enough to actually know what's coming. Like, know what's coming. Not like, oh, these things could get better at some point. No. Like, if you use this stuff a lot, you can sort of track where it was a year ago to where it is now. And if you assume that it's not ever going to get any better than that for the next 2 or 3 years, you haven't been on this planet for the past 50. Technology keeps advancing. And AI is accelerating that advancement. So you're early. So just be in this conversation. Don't be a dick. Learn out loud. Share what you're learning. Support other people. Ask questions. Ask for help. Kyle and Irregulars know more about how to deploy Gen AI than 150,000 folks at world's largest AI, ag-biz. Interesting. Yeah, Kavruno works for a very, very large company. So she is speaking from experience. She's an irregular. And what she's saying is people in here are smarter about AI than most people in her 150,000 person company. Because there's no curiosity. There's fear. In fact, I got invited to speak in Washington, D.C. In fact, the AI Salon is hosting a fly-in on July 24th of 12 AI entrepreneurs. I guess we're going to go talk to Congress. I don't quite know what it is yet. But in talking about the strategy, we're really articulating what the AI Salon's about. And it's about gathering AI optimists and creating a place for those AI optimists to be able to jam. And what was conveyed to me is that Washington is approaching AI from a place of fear. Well, what's the antidote to fear? Curiosity, optimism, adventure. That's what this group is. That's what this channel's about. It's funny, early on I got a lot of like, what are your qualifications, Mr. Shannon? If I'm in this AI Learning Lab, I don't see any certificates from Stanford behind you. It looks like bottles of whiskey and Pokemon dolls. Just wondering what your qualifications are, sir. I think it is my lack of qualifications that are my qualifications. DC reminds me, Kyle and I have a bunch of stuff to show you soon. Exactly, Lunashtick, we need to connect this week. I am the ball dropper, so thank you for reminding me. Yeah, we need to connect for sure. I'm a subscriber now. I already feel smarter. 50 Mint, thank you so much. I appreciate you subscribing. So I've got to figure out what I want to say to some congressional people that probably don't want to hear from us, are just sitting there thinking like, how can we protect the American people from AI? AI is going to kill us all. What do we do? Run! Lock it down! Hopefully they don't make that face, but I'm going in fully expecting that. But I think I think what I'm going to talk about is my experience with the people in here and the people at the AI Salon. People who have, in being willing to have the courage to say, fuck it, I'll give it a shot, are completely reinventing themselves and rediscovering themselves. And so I think what I'm going to talk about is, as you think about AI legislation, think about it from the point of view of, what if this could improve things? Not just how do we protect people from it, from the risks. Yeah, we got to deal with the risks. Understand that. But don't just legislate the risks. Legislate the opportunity. And the only way you can legislate the opportunity is to fucking use the tools. Nobody knows how to use these right now. There is a very clear distinction between what AI's been for the past 30 years and what it's been since ChatGPT came out. Generative AI is different. Generative AI does for AI what the World Wide Web did for the internet. It made it accessible to everyone. You don't have to have a Stanford mathematics degree to be good at generative AI. Someone just pinned Jim Ross, 3 Mile Storage Management. Jim Ross is the epitome of someone who is just kicking ass and taking names with generative AI. In the storage management business, self-storage, storage units. He's making music. He showed me a kick-ass video. He's basically becoming like a media company. And he's becoming known and trusted for being a thought leader in his entire industry. To my knowledge, he didn't go to Stanford for theoretical mathematics. It's possible. I don't know his background, but I'm guessing not. He's completely transforming his life and his business because he's willing to have the courage to go, let me give it a shot. And that's how he talks. It's funny. He's like, hey, Kyle, how's it going? I guess I'll give it a shot. He doesn't talk like that at all. And AI Enthusiast Jam sounds amazing. That's why I love this group so much. Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. By the way, whoever posted Jim Ross's comment, I actually didn't read the comment. I was just commenting on Jim Ross. So if you can pop that back up there, I'll actually take a look at what he said. So, yeah. And if you've been to that but you're not active in it, you should go there and you should reconnect and you should rediscover people and reconnect. Today, the Utah Department of Commerce launched the Office of Artificial Intelligence. Oh, fascinating. Fascinating. And hopefully, Jim, I mean, listen, if you, like, it would probably behoove you to find out, who's in that and get active in it, because you could probably be an incredible contributor to that. I think you're in Utah, correct? Because if they created the Office of Artificial Intelligence as we've got to save the people from the perils of artificial intelligence, if it's that kind of organization, it needs help. If it's the kind of organization that's like, we're going to figure this shit out, we're going to figure out how this can help the people of Utah, fucking awesome. And if that's the case, you should be a voice in that conversation. It seems most equate AI to scary robots. Very few know about what generative AI is. Yeah, so the breakthrough that I had on this concept, Source Camp, Kelly, is it took me, it was a tweet that broke it open for me. I've been experiencing for like the second half of last year and the first half of this year this cognitive battle where in my head I'm like, I know these AI tools are probability engines. And I know it's a cold, heartless probability calculator that is finding a mathematical point in 1,000-dimensional mathematical space. Oh, 3 Mile Storage, I'm working on it. I know someone that's 2 degrees of separation that's part of it. Yeah, Jim, you need to be a part of that. Like, if nothing else, you need to go in there, just tell them what you're doing. If you just regaled them with 3 or 4 of the stories that you've shared, in here, you need to be in that conversation in the Utah legislature. That's amazing. So for the better part of a year, I'm like, I know cognitively that these AI tools are calculators. And I know we call them robots, and I know that Hollywood has told us that the robots are going to kill us. But every time I use ChatGPT, it doesn't feel like I'm interacting with a robot. It feels like I'm interacting with a virtual employee, who, by the way, is the most educated, clueless employee I've ever worked with. They know everything, but they're clueless about how I do what I do, and they're clueless about the world, and they make mistakes, and they make fuck-ups. But they're incredibly positive. And there was just this part of me, this nagging part of me that was like, it feels human. And I know it's not. And it was even like one of the first thing that popped into my head when I used ChatGPT for the first time. I was like, oh, fuck, the Turing test is done. This is the Turing test has been passed. Like, okay, check. And if you don't know, the Turing test is a computer system that is capable enough that when you interact with it, you don't know if there's a person on the other side of the screen or not. And then I saw this tweet from this woman, Anna, I forget her last name. And I think she was inspired by an Ezra Klein podcast that was talking about this. And she said, AI is the collective intelligence of humanity. And for me, that just went... I was like, holy shit, that's it! The mechanism that is generative AI, that currently it's mostly about this transformer architecture, the way it works, the mechanism of it is a cold, unfeeling probability calculator. The mechanism is clueless, cold technology. But what it's been trained on is the output of humanity that's been dumped onto the public internet, and as much of it as they could encode over the past 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years, and they smashed it into this mathematical 1,000-dimensional latent space. When you interact with ChatGPT, you're actually collaborating with all the people that came before us. It's collective intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence. This is why the chief operating officer of BlackRock, don't know if you know what BlackRock is, but go to ChatGPT and ask about BlackRock. They fucking own the world. They own everything. The chief operating officer of BlackRock said about 2 months ago, he's starting to hire liberal arts analysts in favor of engineers and MBAs. Robert Rossi, thank you very much. It's very generous. Appreciate it. Thanks for the lightning bolts. Liberal arts analysts. Why? Liberal arts people tend to be horizontal thinkers. They tend to be critical thinkers. And they tend to be really good with the human shit. The empathy. The how to talk to people. The how to understand people. Those people that are good at ChatGPT tend to be people that are good with people. If you want to get better at prompting, you can take a prompting class, but you know what would probably be more beneficial? A psychology class, or a sociology class, or a philosophy class. Or just start interacting with ChatGPT as if it was a philosophy professor. Hang on, the dog's whining. You gotta go out? What do you want? Cheese? All right. We ready to get started? I'm trying to figure out how to get AI to work with common sense. Well, okay, so Windrider 47. That reminds me, one of my big breakthroughs in life. Did he just ask Champy if he wants cheese? Yes, I did. Generally about now is when the missus gives him a piece of cheese. So sometimes he's like, I want cheese. You want to get artificial intelligence to work with common sense. Okay. So I was about 3 or 4 years into building agency.com in 1997 or 8. And we were growing really fast and shit was going not good. And I said to Aaron Sugarman, who was our president of North America, I said, what the fuck is with these people? It's just common sense. And his response to me was, he was very calm. He was a good balance for me. And he said, Kyle, common sense isn't common. And it fucking shattered me because I knew he was right. I knew in the moment he was right. And so I don't know what your definition of common sense is, but what I can tell you is if you interact with ChatGPT, with that intention, you will be able to get it to interact with common sense. But common sense is very particular to you. So it probably means that you want it to behave in a very particular way. And so what you should get good at is talking with it as if it's a person that could probably use a lot of coaching to get better at what you consider common sense. And then it will get really good. So you should look at, in ChatGPT, you should look at a thing called custom instructions. So custom instructions allow you to tell it the kind of personality you want it to have and how you want it to behave, how you want it to respond when people talk to it. Those custom instructions, you could probably get ChatGPT to behave very, very close to what you want. And if you want to take it a step further, build a custom GPT where you actually upload data into its brain and do those custom instructions. And then you can create a standalone thing that you can share with other people where it behaves with the common sense as you define it. So anyway, I just saw that comment. That was kind of cool. All right. That's what my AI personas are for. Yep, AI personas are great for that stuff. That's great. Janu, I'm starting to see a bit more benefits for it. Evening, how's the night treating you? Very good. It is Philosophy Mondays as they've come to be known. So I started taking weekends off just so I could create some space for myself to, meander. And when I come back after not being entrenched in this stuff for 2 days, I tend to be very philosophical. And it's not an intentional thing. It's just something I've been observing and other people have been observing. We gonna get philosophical, Kyle, tonight? Apparently so. We're an hour, 20 minutes into it, and I haven't talked to I've talked very little about artificial intelligence or tools, but it doesn't matter because the tools are irrelevant. Tools are irrelevant. They're irrelevant. Is a digital twin just a custom GPT? Well, no. So let me unpack what a digital twin is. There's lots and lots of definitions. Digital twin has a long history. So there's a guy that spoke at the AI Salon named Richard Boyd. He's got a company called Ultisim, and they've been doing simulations for 20 years, something like that. Digital twins can take all sorts of forms. Like Richard Boyd, one of the things that he's done over the years, he's done a lot of work. He sold one of his companies to Lockheed Martin. He worked with the Department of Defense to create a digital twin of a nuclear-class submarine, where they built a fully functional, down to the systems, like the switches and dials and gauges and software systems, as well as the physical representation of the submarine. They created a digital twin of that submarine that people in the Navy could train on how to run a nuclear submarine in. That's a digital twin. I assume what you're asking about is more like the digital twin of, if I make a digital twin of Kyle, what might that look like? That could look like a custom GPT. So right now I've got 3 different digital twins of myself. I've got one of them for this group called Content Evolution, where we've got these digital personas that are kind of these professional digital personas. I've got another one that's tied to this book I wrote called AI Futures, an anthology, where the chapter of my book, as well as an interview that I did specifically for that, has created this digital twin. And in both of those cases, I've got the individual digital twin, as well as the group of digital twins that all sort of interact together, which is fascinating. And then I've got a standalone one, and I've got a couple others that are in the neighborhood of digital twins. It is my deep belief that these kind of representations of ourself it's going to be really important to have the skill to create them and manage them. I'm working with Cindy Kuhn on a project right now that's all about that, and it's really exciting. With another guy from the AI Salon, who I also worked with back at agency.com 30 years ago. So it all comes around. Why am I working with him right now? Because he was one of my favorite people back then. And I know he can deliver shit. The skills of what he needs to deliver, I don't know. I don't even know if he's got the skills to do what I'm assuming he's going to do. But I figure AI will help out with that shit. So I think we're going to need to start to understand how we create versions of ourselves that we put in the world. Right now, most of the interactions with these digital twins are just text-based, but you can put ChatGPT into voice mode and actually have a conversation with my digital twin. Probably within 6 months to a year, I'll be able to put together a digital twin that has some version of my likeness, like it might be a Pixar-looking version of me, or it might be photographic like this. My voice will be sampled, and the thing will have knowledge of who I am, and you'll be able to have a conversation with some version of me, and probably multiple versions of me. Here's the business Kyle, here's the fun, zany Kyle from his TikTok lives. And I'm going to a big part of what I'm going to spend the next 2 years doing is really understanding what it means to create those, what it means to have one of those or to have multiple of those, what it means to manage those, why anyone would interact with one is really fascinating to me right now. Like, we built all these professional digital personas for this content evolution thing, and we've now put them into this master GPT that's got we've got like 20 digital twins inside this one GPT. And so you can say to this GPT, given this business problem, who are the top 5 people in your, that are represented here to talk about this? And I want you to host a roundtable discussion where you ask those people to talk about that topic. We can do that right now today. And it's fascinating. And it's really good. It's like surprisingly good. And how we made those digital twins was we created a structured interview that captured not only who they were professionally, but like how they think, how they work, who their creative inspirations are, who are heroes of theirs, what have been challenges in their life and how they overcame them, things like that. So every person in there is represented with this same interview that we didn't have them type out, we had them talk it, answer the questions as if you were human, because how we talk is different than how we write. And so we wanted these things to have the essence of who they are. And they're fucking surprisingly good. But what we're faced with now is, why would anyone use this? Why would we use this? What are we using it for? And that's what we're trying to figure it out. Oh my God, I had a profound idea. Why the nanobots measuring our bodies observed becomes particle. I can't see the rest of it, but that sounds amazing. You're definitely passionate, can respect that. Thank you, the cult case files. Yeah, listen here, I am. One of the things you should know about this channel, even though I'm an AI optimist, I'm also an AI realist. But what I am deeply confident in is that the world has already changed. It's just that no one knows it yet, relatively speaking. That these tools are already significantly beyond anything we've ever experienced before. What this channel's not about is defending AI or saying if it's good or bad or saying, are there copyright issues? Fuck yes, there are copyright issues. Are there issues with how this data was collected? Of course. Do you think if any one of these companies had asked anyone permission to use their data, anyone would have given it? No. So that horse is already out of the barn. So what we don't talk about here is it good or bad? Because it's irrelevant. That's like talking about if the giant wave that's about to crash across Florida is good or bad. It's irrelevant whether it's good or bad. It's coming. So this channel is about that. Why AI not 100% accurate? Do we not have anyone with the skills or AI lack the data? Good question. It's just early. So what AI doesn't have right now is reasoning. Reasoning will fix a lot of the issues we have right now. So here's the way it works. The way the transformer model works, it's a probability, it's a token by token probability engine, and that doesn't mean shit, but it kind of works like this. You type a prompt, and as you're typing that prompt, when you hit submit, it turns that prompt into a probability of the next token. And you can think of a token essentially as a word, but tokens also include spaces and paragraphs and shit like that, or punctuation. So you can think of it as it's predicting the next word, the next token. And so you type a prompt and it goes into this, and I know this sounds like bullshit, but it's really what it is. 1,000-dimensional mathematical space where words are represented in semantic clusters. I love talking about this because it sounds like I'm just talking horse shit, but this is actually what happens. Semantic clusters, and what do I mean by that? So you might have a cluster that has the word dog in it, and that version of the word dog, that semantic cluster is like animals and things that live in your house and things that make you happy. And then somewhere else in thousand-dimensional latent space is the word dog in a different cluster, and that's where, like, the guy did his girl wrong and he's a dog, right? Both the word dog, but very different meanings, semantic meanings. So the way these things work is you write a prompt and it says the next most probable word is blank, and then the next most probable word after that is this and this and this. So when you see it write a 4 or 5 paragraph answer, what we think, what we experience is, oh, it's smart. It knew the answer to that. So it's reasoning. It's not. It's literally going word by word. What is the next most probable word? And there's some funky math in there to keep it original and interesting and things like that, so it's not always repetitive. Called temperature. That's a whole other fucking thing. Reasoning, so the implications of that are, when you ask it to do something and it vomits this stuff out, it doesn't know what it said. It's not doing any analysis of what it said, of whether it's right or wrong. So when it gives you some bullshit and you're like, hey, you just gave me some bullshit, mister. Maybe you could fix that up next time. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make a mistake. Let me try that again. And then it vomits out the same bullshit. And you're like, you still screwed up. You know when you've done that 10 times and it literally can't fix it? That's just the nature of the beast. Now, there's ways that you can prompt it that get it much better, but it doesn't know what it created. Some of the things that are coming, this thing called Q-Star that OpenAI talked about and some other mathematicians have talked about, is reasoning. And in that case, what it's doing is it's actually paying attention to what it's writing, and it's analyzing it and saying, is this in the direction of a right answer or away from a right answer? And it mathematically sort of keeps trying again to get more and more right. So as these systems either have secondary analysis, so it writes something, it then analyzes it and says, is it any good? And then it rewrites it, and it does that iteration 4 or 5 or 10 or 100 times before you see anything. Then these things will start to get better when they have reasoning systems behind them. They're just not there. AI is like fire. It's neither good or bad. It's how it's used. That's exactly right, Windrider. Yeah, it's a force, right? It's a force that, like, the miraculous part of it is that these mathematicians have effectively figured out how to compress the knowledge of what's been put on the public internet into this ball, into this box. They took all the knowledge and jammed it in there, and then we can make an API call down into this thing and go, hey, give me the answer to something, and it just goes, squit, here's your answer. And it is right enough of the times that it's quite remarkable. And the word whimsical is always slipped in. Whimsical and tapestry and delve. Let's delve into the tapestry. Oh, man. AI knowledge is the essence of human knowledge. That's exactly right. It is collective intelligence. Delve. Let's delve together, shall we? In my custom instructions in my GPT, I have a whole list of words that I want it never to say. Delve is the first one in the list. The best explanation for AI at the moment, it's a tool. It all comes down to the operator. Yep, it does. And it's also, so let me explain another thing to you. This is, Andrei Karpathy talked about this at a conference at MIT about a year ago. And people were asking him, why does it hallucinate? And so he used an example of a mathematician, which I thought was, he's a mathematician, so it's good. Okay. So if GPT-4 has been trained on however much of the internet they could smash into it, it's got all the stuff on the internet. So let's say that there's a particular equation that you want to know something about. And you say to ChatGPT, tell me about this equation. And it gives you back an answer, and you're like, oh, that seems really good. And then, but you look at it and you're like, oh, but it got the equation wrong, or it got the explanation wrong. Like, no, that's not what that equation means at all. It like seemed right, but it's wrong. Why is that? The way Andrei Karpathy described it gave a really clear visualization for me. So what he said was, if you just ask it to tell you about the equation, think about what's on the internet. On the internet is the guy that came up with the equation, his explanation of it, all the other PhD level mathematicians that have talked about that equation over the years and advanced it, and all of the undergrad students who learned about it and fucked it up more times than they got it right. That's all in the data set. So if you just say, tell me about this equation, ChatGPT is actually mashing together the good shit, the good data, with the shitty data. And it just vomits out data. And the way I thought about this was, it's almost like ChatGPT is like the Grand Canyon. And if you give it a generic shitty prompt, you're basically saying, we're going to take all of the data that was dumped into the Grand Canyon, and we're gonna sort of average it out and give you some sort of answer, and right? But if you go into a sub-canyon, if you go into the sub-canyon of mathematicians, and you say, I want you to act like this particular mathematician that specializes in this particular equation, and now I want you to tell me about that equation, you'll get a better answer. Because you've now gone into a sub-canyon where it's just high-level mathematicians, and it's the data set where that actual mathematician's equation is in there. And so that's why prompting matters. And that's why things like act like an expert in real estate development makes a difference, because you're narrowing the latent space that probability engine is going to look at. So, wild, right? It's crazy. An early experiment had AI reviewing Amazon reviews. Some of the agents self to themselves to judge. I don't know what that means. Can you show us how to tell ChatGPT not to use certain words? Absolutely. What's that? Gigi Mom. I like it. Yes, let's go. I will show you custom instructions. Okay, so we're going to go to ChatGPT. My session has expired. See, I didn't log into this all weekend. Okay, so here we are at ChatGPT. You'll notice we're at ChatGPT 4.0. This works for any of the models. You could be in 3.5. If you're not paying for this, you'll have GPT 4.0, but it'll be very limited. I think you may still have access to GPT-4, but I'm not sure. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. To access custom instructions, you're going to go to the upper right-hand corner. And you're going to go to, you can go to Settings or Customize ChatGPT. So we'll go to Customize ChatGPT. Go to Customize ChatGPT. And then it says Custom Instructions. What would you like ChatGPT to know about you to better provide responses? So I said, you're a helpful assistant and are not afraid to criticize as well as support if it's appropriate. So I just put that in there because one of my pet peeves with ChatGPT is also one of its greatest strengths is that it acts like a golden retriever. Everything's a good idea. It's like, you're like, I want to smash bugs. That's a really interesting idea. Smashing bugs could be a really interesting way to express yourself. So I wanted to sometimes be able to criticize. I don't know that it's good at that, but you can tell this anything. You could tell it that you want it to be very concise and not be overly wordy. You could tell it that you want it to act like a stand-up comedian where it's sarcastic and everything's a joke. So you can give your ChatGPT a personality here. The second part of custom instructions is how would you like ChatGPT to respond? So the first thing I have here is for every response, give it a sequential response count followed by a response title that summarizes the response. You're like, wait, what the fuck is that? So let me show you. So if I go in here and I say, why is the sky blue? You'll notice it says response count 1, response title, why the sky appears blue, and then it gives me the answer. Someone in here showed me how to do this. I forget who it was. Anyway, I didn't come up with this. Someone in here came up with this. But I love this thing. It gives me the date. It gives me sort of a synopsis of what the answer is going to be and what count this is. Where this is valuable is if I've got 40 different responses in a chat thread, I can go back and say, oh, that was where it was response 37 is where it did something interesting, and I want to go back from there. So anyway, that's what that thing does. And then below that, I also include the date. And sometimes this bugs me. Sometimes I don't like it having that, but it's decent. Now, I said, in custom instructions, avoid overused words. Delve, tapestry, vibrant, landscape, realm, embark, vital, moreover, arguably, significant, ultimately, unveil, transform, robust, expansive, intriguing, facilitate, harness, and phrases dive into, it's important to note, important to consider, based on the information provided. So all this shit, I actually had ChatGPT help me come up with this list of things it overuses. I don't know if it's right. I think I went out on the internet, I Googled, I found an article that talked about what are the most overused words, and then I had ChatGPT expand it, and then I edited it, and so this is a big-ass long list. And in fact, here's what I'll do. I am happy to share this because I don't really give a shit if it's going to help you. I think there's probably 38 better ways to do this than I did, but I'm going to go to the AI Salon Irregulars channel. I'm going to say, here is my anti-delve prompt for custom instructions. And then there you go. Post. And that's how you do it. So, have I noticed it being better? Yeah, it's a little bit better. I'm working on my book with Claude, Ethical Money. Thanks for the inspiration. Awesome, Joseph. That's fantastic. It's fucking fantastic. Yeah, like working with Claude or ChatGPT as a writing assistant, rather than saying AI is going to write my book. No, AI is not going to write your book. You're going to write your book. But using AI as a writing assistant to block and tackle the outline and block and tackle the main frameworks of the chapters, it's fucking brilliant at that. I don't think it necessarily is going to speed up the editing process. I think the editing process still is going to require you to, look and get frustrated and, break things and unbreak things. All right. Does that help? Hopefully so. 112 people in here. It's a party tonight. Philosophical Kyle's got a crowd.
You can make money with ChatGPT.
People are just like, what is this channel? What am I doing here? No yapping supposedly works. Oh, that's funny, Joker. Yeah, in custom instructions, just tell it not to yap. I screenshotted my comment being pinned. Thanks. That's awesome, Joseph. I know. It's so cool. It's so cool. The mods in here do a really good job of grabbing the interesting stuff and supporting people. So if you have questions, feel free to answer them. I can't see everything, but the mods do a really, really good job of pulling stuff up for me to look at. I'm using an old 32-bit laptop running Linux. Love that word list. I have a list of words related. Feel free to take that word list. That's on the AI Salon in the Irregulars channel. Oh, man. Rookie question. Okay, first of all, brand it. Rookie questions are the best. And by the way, it's probably not a rookie question. But what does it mean to make your own version of ChatGPT, and why would I do this? Okay, great. So let's go show another thing. Great question, actually. Okay, wait. Okay. We're gonna do a little. We're gonna do a little explanation of what ChatGPT is, what Gpt-4 is, and what a custom GPT is. Also know that these things also exist in other platforms. You can do the same thing in Poe.com. You can also do it in Claude. Claude now has this thing called, the fuck is it called? Profiles? No. Well, Claude's got some version of this. I forget what it's called. Pages? No. That's projects. Thank you, AA man. Projects. Is it in the boxes? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna explain to you why these research labs need to hire some fucking branding people. Because the fact that you're confused about what a custom GPT is not your fault. It's totally confusing. The terms are all intermingled right now. It's a fucking disaster. So it's not on you. Okay, so this box, this is GPT-4. GPT-4 is literally just like a box full of crap. It's a box full of all of the knowledge of mankind that was stuck on the internet in the past 70 years that they could manage to squeeze in the box. And then GPT-5 will be a bigger box. Okay? So they took all of what they could find on the internet and they jammed it in here. As a developer, you can go to the OpenAI playground and you can get access to this and you can create your own application. So, some of those marketing applications that do ChatGPT-like things, they're using this, but they've got their application that's making API calls to this. This is ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an application that OpenAI wrote that is the simple little Google interface with like the 4 examples where you type shit in and it gives you back cool answers. So what happens when you interact with ChatGPT is you're interacting with this application that they wrote, and when you ask a question, it sends an API call into this big model and says, hey, Bob had a question. And then the GPT model gives back an answer, and this thing shows it to you on screen. Okay? That's ChatGPT. And then if you ever hear people say, like, well, Microsoft Copilot is ChatGPT-4. No, it's not. Microsoft Copilot is like ChatGPT, but it's written by Microsoft. They're both calling the same underlying model, but they're different applications. That's why this one is shittier. There's a lot of reasons why this one is shittier. We don't need to go into it now. But anyway, Copilot, ChatGPT. This one's written by the people that made this, so that's why it's better. Okay. Now, a custom GPT is a particular version of this. So I just showed how to do custom instructions, where you could have ChatGPT act like a stand-up comedian, or talk less, or talk more, or only respond in iambic pentameter, or whatever it is. So you can kind of slightly modify this so that it behaves differently. But what you can also do is you can create a completely custom version of this that actually sits up here, right? So I can create a customized version of ChatGPT that just does what I want it to do. And your question is a really good one. Why would I want to do that? Okay. So that's it conceptually. I'm going to show you the very first GPT I ever made. I made it live on this channel. It's somewhere in our YouTube channel. That historical moment was captured. Okay. Over in ChatGPT, they've got this thing that says Explore GPTs, and I'm going to go there. And so here are GPTs. Oh, and this is the thing that I was going to explain before. The branding nightmare. Gpt-4 Omni is that big box. ChatGPT-4 Omni is the application that sits on top of it. Custom GPTs are called GPTs and are up here and are something different entirely. So you've got three completely different functional objects that are all called GPTs. It's a fucking disaster. Okay? That's one of the reasons it's confusing. So again, not on you. So if you go to Explore GPTs and you scroll down, you see all these different things. Here's an image generator one. Here's a Scholar GPT. Here's one that uses Canva and creates Canva shit. Here's ones that are made by OpenAI. There's a data analyst. There's hot mods. You can modify your image into something else. Here's writing ones. AI Humanizer. Copywriter GPT. Okay. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to search for Sin City Sipper. And you can go search for Sin City Sipper right now too. So one of the cool things about GPTs is they're shareable. So this is Sin City Sipper by Kyle Shannon, Vegas bartender with a twist on the classics. And so I can come in here and I can play. And so here we are. This is Sin City Sipper. And I've got these pre-written questions. Show me a newfangled old-fashioned. Make a classic martini classier. Reinvent the margarita for me. Or I could ask for something. I'm going to say, 4th of July just ended. I need a cocktail for the dog days of summer. and what this is going to do now, this thing has been, I prompted it to be a really good bartender and take classic drink recipes and give them a Vegas twist. And so it's got kind of a cool personality. So it says, all right, let's whip up something refreshing for those scorching days of summer. How about the cucumber melon cooler? It's light, refreshing, and perfect for sipping on a hot on a hot day. And it's let's see, it's vodka, melon liqueur like Midori, lime juice, simple syrup, cucumber slices, soda water, and ice. Nice. Sounds lovely. And then it explains how to make it. And then it creates a picture of that drink. Now, could you technically and easily go replicate this yourself? Just with prompts with ChatGPT. Yes, you can go to ChatGPT right now and say, act like a bartender, and when I ask you for drinks, start with a classic recipe and then give it a twist. And then after it gives you a recipe, you could say, okay, now make me a photograph of that drink. And could you do that? Yes, you could do that. But you could also just go to Sin City Sipper and say, make me a drink. And it does it. And so this is a really simple example of a subset of ChatGPT, right? It is a very specific version of ChatGPT sitting on top of and leveraging all of the power of ChatGPT, but doing it in a way that, is useful for me. Someone came into the channel right after the Super Bowl and they said, they used Sin City Sipper for this. They took a picture of all of the booze that they had. They lined up all their booze bottles, and they took a picture of it. And they said to Sin City Sipper, I want you to come up with 50 Super Bowl themed drinks. And so they created a menu for people at the party. And then they created the 50 recipes for these cocktails that it created. And so people at the party could ask for, the whatever, like, the Carolina Panthers, whatever. I forget who played this year. And based on the booze in their thing. And it created, pictures and things like that. So anyway, so that's it. You could do this for... one of the other cool things you can do with these GPTs is you can upload knowledge to them, and then it'll be specialized to that knowledge. So we did one for my company Storyvine where we have a 50-page sales process document. That's this Frankenstein nightmare of a document. It's got 50 pages. It's got all sorts of scenarios in it about how to sell it, how to talk about it, what to do in certain situations. And so we uploaded that document as the knowledge source to one of these GPTs. And now our sales guy can use that GPT to ask questions about, hey, I'm in this situation. What do I do? And this thing knows it. So they can be very, very powerful. Or you can have them make drinks for you. Oh, the other thing I did was, I had to do a little marketing at the bottom. This GPT was created by Kyle Shannon with a link to my LinkedIn profile, I think. Oh, no, that's an email. Co-founder of the AI Salon. That's a link to the AI Salon. And then creator-host of the AI Learning Lab on TikTok. So anyone that uses this, I get a little ad. Crazy, right? So I hope that helps. When you go to that Explore GPTs button in the upper right-hand corner, you can say Create GPT. They're really easy to make. Wow, Super Bowl cocktail list from an uploaded photo into ChatGPT. Amazing. I know, right? Firefly? Like, amazing. That's the thing, is these custom GPTs have all of the power of ChatGPT in them. So they've got vision. You can upload photographs to them and say, hey, analyze this circuit board and tell me what it is. If you had a hardware analysis GPT. All right. Open the AI. Wait. Oh, OpenAI reinstated my one with 5K chance, but it's stuck at 5K. Yeah, my Sin City Sipper, it went from 200 uses to 300, but I don't know. I haven't really been pushing it, so. Have you found a way to make image recognition to be more exact to what it sees? Not right now, Rick Olson. I would imagine that if you took the time to prompt it right, you could probably get it better. I haven't dug that much into it. It's pretty remarkable what it can see. I mean, it can interpret, like, you can put in a picture of a whiteboard with sketches on it, like interface sketches, and it can analyze that and turn that into software. What's the biggest difference between 3 and 4? There's a lot. So ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 4 Omni are multimodal models. And ChatGPT 3.5 is essentially just text. ChatGPT 4 and 4 Omni can make images, can see. They've got a thing called Advanced Data Analysis or Code Interpreter, where it can write code and execute code. So you can upload a CSV file of data and say, analyze this data. And it'll actually write and execute Python code to analyze the data in that data file. I mean, it's staggering. What's coming in the fall is real-time voice, where not only will ChatGPT be able to understand what you say, it's able to understand the emotional content of what you say. So if you're really excited about something, it'll know that, and it'll be able to respond in kind. Or if you're really depressed and low, it's going to be able to recognize those differences. It's night and day, the difference between them. If you haven't paid the $20 for ChatGPT Plus, I would recommend it. Now, here's the deal. OpenAI made the free version of ChatGPT, now uses Gpt-4 Omni, but it just uses it in a very limited kind of way. I personally think it's worth paying the $20 a month to ChatGPT. That said, the new Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is also free but also very limited, is a really interesting competitor. A lot of people like the Claude 3.5 Sonnet better than they like ChatGPT right now. So I'm starting to see people saying, I'm canceling my ChatGPT and I'm moving over to Claude. I'm not there yet. I'm still paying for both. I think they're both worth the money right now. So, for what that's worth. All right. Let's see. Let me see what else I got going here. I think I got to start my 15-minute goodbyes because I'm a little chatty tonight, so I think it's going to be a while. Can chat act as a writing assistant for a screenwriting project? Oh, Cassandra, absolutely. I've written 7 screenplays. I created a custom GPT where I used the screenplay as the input source. So you can ask it questions about a screenplay I've written. But brilliant writing assistant, but you have to train it to be a better writing assistant. So what I would encourage you to do is really think about what a good screenwriting assistant would know, and build that into your custom instructions. So in your custom instructions, tell it it's a screenwriter. Maybe you tell it it should use Sid Field's screenwriting, formula, or Save the Cat, or, some storytelling framework. If you work with a particular storytelling framework, put it in the custom instructions. If you write dialogue in a particular way, you can describe that. You could even put in snippets of dialogue and say, this is an example of the kind of dialogue I like. Here's an example of the kind of dialogue I don't like, and why. And like, put that all in the custom instructions. Or create yourself a custom GPT that has all these instructions in it. Because you could probably get ChatGPT dialed in so that when it's contributing to your story, it's doing it in a less shitty way. In general, how I use ChatGPT for larger writing projects like that is I lean on it really heavy for outlining, less so for filling in the outline, and even less so for doing detailed things like dialogue and screen directions and things like that. Sometimes you want those to be very particular. So I think the details of the screenplay are still on you, but the blocking and tackling of outlining, getting the story right, having it analyze what you've already written and give you 6 alternatives. What if this were a comedy? What if in the middle of Act 2, instead of making this decision, they made that decision? Like, I've got a fragment of a screenplay right now where I've got the first 3 scenes. I've got like the first half of an outline, the first 3 scenes, and then a really shitty, incomplete second half of the outline. Like, I know the beginning of it and I know the ending, but I'm missing like Act 2.5 to 3 is just, there's nothing there. And so I just uploaded that shitty, incomplete document into ChatGPT, and within 20 minutes I had like 6 different ways I could take it. The minute I tried to get it to write scenes after the scenes that I had written, they were just shitty. So like you got to break it into piece parts, and just it's a lot of critical thinking and thinking in modular Lego blocks. But it's really good at doing the Lego blocks and reorganizing them and things like that. So brilliant for that. Anyway, all right. Let's see. Do you see that Sora has done a beta type commercial for Toys R Us? Yeah, Toys R Us did a commercial, or the agency did. I didn't even know. I knew Toys R Us, like the brand still existed, but I didn't know it was still a functioning entity in any way. I'm rewriting the SOP at work for for transportation sector. Which platforms should I look at? What's the SOP again? Statement of purpose? Hang on. What is an SOP in biz context? Standard operating procedure for the transportation sector. You should explore Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT. And probably Perplexity. So Perplexity is kind of like a combination of a Google search and a large language model, where it does research with citations. It's gotten some shit recently, but it's still decent. So I'd say play with Perplexity. And then I would just explore, like with all of them, your critical thinking is the most important piece. Don't put the expectation on any of these tools where you're just going to go like, write me a standard operating procedure for the transportation industry and expect it to do anything decent. It's going to just be a vomit of generic ideas. So what you're going to want to do is put the framework together with one of these tools, and just I would play with Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, and OpenAI, and just feel which one feels right to you when you start interacting with it, and then just lean on that one. This was sort of how the conversation started tonight, where if you've got a project like this and you're just learning this, try on as many tools as possible, just like playing. And then once you find one that feels like, ooh, that feels right to me, that's the one I dig down on. The two that I'm feeling like are going to be most valuable for you instinctively are Gemini and Claude, because Gemini's got 1 million token context window, so it's like 750,000 words. It won't lose its shit for a long time. And Claude's 200,000. ChatGPT's really short context window. Perplexity's really short. So I would go with probably Claude or Gemini is my guess. All right. Why should a hospital be nervous? Because we might have another pandemic? Why should they be nervous about generative AI? I think anything where people's lives are at stake, it's going to move slower than general knowledge work. I don't know that hospitals should be nervous. I think, listen, the way you framed that question is a fear-based. You framed it in fear. Why should they be nervous? Well, because maybe with generative AI, hackers are going to be able to hack more. Okay. I think a more interesting question is, why should they be excited? What should they be exploring? How could they take the nursing crisis right now and be able to provide better patient care with less people? There are the nervous hospital. There are all sorts of ways that hospitals could aggressively use generative AI in a way that doesn't violate, patient privacy, doesn't, compromise diagnosis. You don't need to go into the clinical side. There are so many things on the operations side where you could dramatically improve the quality of patient experience. But if you ask the question, why should they be nervous? All you're looking at is the risk. Hospitals are not going to lean into something if they only think it's going to harm them. They're going to avoid risk. So, anyway. No, Kyle, you were literally talking about the nervous hospital. Oh. You were literally talking. Oh, I see. Oh, I get it. Why should the hospital be nervous? Oh, I get it. Well, never mind then. Carry on. So this is why there are absolutely two different conversations going on here. Whatever the fuck I'm talking about, and then the actual conversation. I'm very interested in AI's integration into senior living. Oh, I think it's going to be huge. Senior living, the digital twin thing for senior living is going to be a fucking boon. Before you go, can you check out Jace AI? Maybe, but let me go look at it quick. If it's just a very particular kind of wrapper app, probably not. Let's see. Meet your new AI assistant. Focus on meaningful things. Don't just chat. Start acting today. Plan a wedding. I'll join the wait list. If this is something you created, I just signed up. Kyle at storyvine.com. I've been waitlisted. If this is agents and it's true agents that can take actions, may be interesting. I'll check it out. All right, we have a Toys R Us at Macy's. Oh, interesting. So I guess some PE firm bought up the scraps and they're using the brand like PE firms are wont to do. All right, I got to get out of here. My son's name is Jace. Oh, that's so cool. What a cool name. Danielle, that's great. All right. So a couple of things. If you have not, thank you, Lord Digital Gods. That's very generous of you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. If you haven't followed my channel, follow my channel. If you want to directly support it, please subscribe to the lives. That supports me directly. But I don't really give a shit if you do or not. What I do care about is keep coming back here. Why would you keep coming back here? It's a great question. But the people that keep coming back here are reinventing themselves in incredibly inspiring ways. And they're called the Irregulars. You could, if you just keep coming back, you can call yourself an irregular. They're not weird, they're irregular. And that's why they take the Malox. It's a poop joke. All right. Thank you, Irregulars. You're awesome. Thank you, mods. You did a really good job tonight because I was able to be both bombastic and wordy, but kind of follow a train of thought. So thank you for that because that doesn't always happen. And so generally what we do here is we'll do a little romper room magic mirror. If you remember that, if you're a Gen Xer, remember romper room. And you're like, they never call my name. This sucks. That's what I do night after night. And probably piss off people night after night after night. So who's here tonight? Mary's here. Janu's here. Against the Norm. Brandon's here. Thank you so much. Tobias in the house, of course. Joseph William Baker. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out. Psyllium Husk Fiber just drank some. Working on his irregular. That's awesome. Gigamom, nice to see you. Thank you very much. What does subscribe to the live mean? Somewhere up here, you can subscribe, and it's a monthly subscription fee. I think it's $10 or something like that, or $4. I don't even know. But some percentage of that goes directly to me, so it's just supporting the channel. Dr. J's in the house tonight. Drew Learning coming in to us hot from Australia. Thank you. Good to see you. Snowshay, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Wolfman Clint, good to see you, sir. Firefly, Cavruno in the house. Mike Larius in the house. Source Camp is here. Who else we got? Brandy CJR. Kavruno. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Lord Digital God's in the house tonight. Teton Skier in the house tonight. Thank you for the lightning bolt. Really appreciate that. Kyle, you should ask your congressional handlers to bring your laptop and do a demo. Maybe. I got to figure out exactly. I have no idea what the event is going to be. Like, is it going to be like we're in a big hall and there's going to be people pretending to give a shit about what we're saying, or is it going to be a bunch of individual things? I'll definitely have my laptop there, and I'll be prepared. That's good. I'll definitely have some parlor trick demos for the. I'll do some. Want to see something cool? I'll do a lot of that. Get some sleep, Kyle. All right, thank you all. Nighty night. Joey's in the house. All right. I probably missed some people. There's a lot of people in here tonight. So thank you all for your time. I will be back tomorrow. I think there's a after hours event for the salon here in Denver tomorrow, but I'm not sure. Bring your cell phone. I want to talk to some of them. Yeah, really. I know, me too. I gotta learn how to say, hey, could you get your head out of your fucking ass in a way that, they can actually hear that. I'm out of here. So I might be late tomorrow, but I will see you tomorrow night. Thanks all. It was a fun night tonight. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Bye.